Naomi saw how the mannequins changed her boss's life overnight. Blinded by greed, she stole them all. But when her boss discovered the theft, she didn't cry, she burst into laughter. Naomi had no idea the mannequins that made her dream could also destroy her life. And her own nightmare was about to begin. Leora was a young woman in her late 20s who lived in Kenton City. Life had not been easy for her. After her father's death, she had to quit school so she could help her mother, Maribel. Her mother's health was failing. Her eyesight had grown weak, and her joints always ached. Yet, Maribel still insisted on sitting outside their compound every day, selling cassava flakes to keep food on the table. Leora wished she could take away her mother's struggles. To survive, she ran a small wig stall in Holloway Market, but her stall was squeezed tightly between louder and more colorful vendors who shouted and pulled in customers with flashy displays. Most people passed by Leora without even looking at her wigs. Those who stopped often mocked her prices, trying to pay far less than the wigs were worth. Still, she endured with quiet determination. Her biggest dream was to give her mother rest and rewrite their family's story. One evening, as Leora was preparing to close her stall, something unusual happened. A mysterious woman appeared in front of her. She was well-dressed, graceful, and carried herself with confidence. She looked straight into Leora's eyes and spoke softly. She said she too had once sold wigs in the same market but was now retiring from the business. Without asking for anything in return, the woman gave Leora 3 glossy mannequins. Their eyes looked so real that Leora almost felt they were alive. She quickly tried to offer money, but the woman refused. By the time Leora turned around to thank her properly, the stranger had already disappeared into the crowded market, leaving behind only the mannequins and a strange feeling in Leora's heart. The very next day, Leora decided to test one of the mannequins. She picked up an old wig, the kind that had sat on her shelf for months without anyone wanting it, and placed it carefully on the mannequin's glossy head. She stood back, expecting nothing unusual. But within minutes, a customer walked straight to the mannequin and pointed at the wig. Without asking for a discount, she paid the full price and left happily. Leora stood frozen, shocked. That had never happened before. Curious, she tried again. She placed another wig on the mannequin, and the same thing happened. Customers came rushing, eager to buy, not even bothering to bargain. It was as if the mannequins had some strange power to attract people. Day after day, the miracle repeated itself. The wigs that used to collect dust now sold instantly. Soon, her small stall that had once been ignored became the busiest place in Holloway Market. Crowds gathered around her mannequins, admiring the wigs as if they were treasures. Her earnings multiplied so quickly that Leora could hardly believe it. With her new wealth, she expanded her business. She bought luxury wigs from top suppliers, wigs made of the finest human hair that sparkled under the sunlight. Customers fought to own them, and Leora's name spread across Kenton City. Her success did not stop there. She moved her mother, Maribel, into a better flat with soft chairs, bright curtains, and running water. For the first time in years, her mother could rest without worrying about selling cassava flakes outside their compound. Leora even bought a small car, something she had never imagined possible. Her story went online, and people praised her as a hard-working young woman who had built her fortune from nothing. Her social media following grew, and soon she was known as one of the most admired businesswomen in the city. Whenever doubts crossed her mind about the mannequin's strange eyes and mysterious power, she brushed them away. She told herself over and over, "They are just my blessing." And with that belief, she continued to rise higher, ignoring the shadows quietly forming around her success. But as the money grew, something inside Leora slowly began to fade. At first, it was just a little extra hair on her comb. Then clumps of it fell out every morning. Soon, bald patches appeared on her head, no matter how much she tried to style around them. Her once glowing brown skin turned pale and dry. Her cheeks sank in, and dark shadows circled her eyes. Her body felt weak, as if her strength was leaking out of her each day. Leora tried to hide the changes. She wore bright scarves around her head and oversized sunglasses to cover her eyes. In public, she forced a smile, pretending nothing was wrong. But Maribel noticed. She saw her daughter's trembling hands, her quiet sighs, and the way she avoided mirrors. The neighbors noticed, too. Whispers spread through Kenton City. How strange it was that Leora's beauty was vanishing just as her wealth was multiplying. Some called it envy. Others said it was a curse. Leora refused to listen. She told herself again and again that everything was fine. But deep inside, she knew something was not right, and the mannequins were watching her with their lifelike eyes every night. One night, when the market had closed and the streets were almost empty, Leora decided she had had enough of the mannequins. Her health was getting worse, her hair was almost gone, and her body felt weaker every day. Even her expensive clothes and new car could not cover the truth. She could not take it any more. So she dragged one of the mannequins out of her shop, covering it with a piece of cloth. Her hands trembled as she pulled it down the narrow road. When she reached a dark side alley, she pushed it into a pile of trash and ran home quickly without looking back. That night, she slept with relief for the first time in weeks. But when she returned to her shop the next morning, her heart almost stopped. The same mannequin was standing right inside her shop, polished clean, staring at her with those lifelike eyes. Fear shook her, but she tried again. She went online, posting pictures of the mannequins for sale at a cheap price. Many people liked her wigs, but no one agreed to take the mannequins. She even begged a few fellow vendors in Holloway Market to accept them as gifts, but they laughed nervously and shook their heads. "They look too strange," one woman whispered. "I don't want that in my house." No matter what she did, the mannequins stayed with her. It felt as if they were bound to her life, refusing to let go. When Maribel finally saw how sick her daughter looked, she became frightened. "This money is not ordinary," she said firmly. Without waiting for argument, she took Leora by the hand and led her to Riverton, where a well-known pastor lived. The pastor was an old man with a calm voice and kind eyes. After listening to Leora's story in silence, he nodded slowly and explained. "These mannequins are cursed," he said. "They do not give blessings. They take them. Their power is an exchange, wealth in return for your beauty, your strength, your very life. The woman who gave them to you must have been suffering, and she passed them to you because she could no longer carry the burden herself. That is why she disappeared so quickly." Leora's chest grew tight. She asked, her voice shaking, "Can't we destroy them? Can't we burn them, or break them, or throw them away?" The pastor shook his head. "They cannot be destroyed by human hands. Fire, water, or even hammers will not harm them. The curse only ends when they are willingly transferred. That is the trap. Someone else must accept them freely. That is the only way they will leave you." Leora's eyes filled with tears. She imagined giving the mannequins to another young woman, watching her life slowly wither the way hers had. The thought made her sick. "No," she cried. "I cannot curse another person's life. I will not do to someone else what was done to me." Maribel held her daughter close, tears rolling down her wrinkled cheeks. The pastor bowed his head in prayer, asking God for mercy, but his words gave little comfort. Leora knew that the wealth she enjoyed was nothing but borrowed, stolen from her own body. And now she faced a cruel choice: live with the mannequins until they drained her completely, or hand them to another soul who would suffer in her place. Her heart broke with the weight of it, and the mannequins stood silently in the corner, their glossy eyes watching her every move, waiting for her decision. Leora's body was weak, but she still kept her wig shop running with the help of a salesgirl named Naomi. Naomi was younger, lively, and always talked about how much she wanted to be rich one day. At first, she seemed hard-working, but over time, her behavior began to change. She grew greedy as she watched customers rushing in and paying large sums for wigs. She envied Leora's lifestyle, the new car, and the better flat. Soon, Naomi started stealing small amounts of money from the daily sales. Leora noticed the figures never balanced, but she was too tired and sick to fight. She told herself maybe it was just a mistake. But Naomi's greed grew bolder. She began hiding wigs in her bag, selling them secretly to her own contacts, and keeping the profit. One day, Naomi made her biggest move. When Leora stayed home to rest, Naomi cleared out the entire shop. She took every wig, every coin, and even carried away the 3 glossy mannequins. By the time Leora arrived at Holloway Market later, the shop was empty. The shelves were bare, the mannequins gone, and even the cash box had vanished. The market women expected Leora to collapse in tears or scream in anger, but instead she began to laugh. It was not the laughter of someone gone mad, though it sounded that way to those watching. It was laughter of release, of relief that the burden had finally been lifted. For the first time in months, her shoulders felt light. She clutched her chest, laughing so hard tears rolled down her cheeks. The women around her whispered, "She has lost her mind." Wealth made her sick, but Leora knew the truth. She hurried home and told her mother, Maribel with shining eyes, "Mama, let them take it. I am free." Maribel, though confused, embraced her daughter tightly. Both of them knew that peace was worth more than cursed riches. From that day on, Leora no longer cared for flashy things. Meanwhile, far away in another city, Naomi was celebrating her new life. With the stolen wigs and money, she opened a bright, fancy wig boutique. Customers admired the glittering shelves, the new decorations, and the wide mirrors. In the corner of the shop, she placed one of the mannequins, polished and shining. Its glossy eyes seemed to glint faintly in the light, almost alive. Naomi smiled proudly as she dusted its face. She whispered, "Perfect. This will make me the richest wig seller in the city." She had no idea what she had welcomed into her life. She saw only opportunity and wealth, but the mannequin stood silently, waiting. Its eyes carried the same curse that had drained Leora's beauty and strength.